Ahoy, Rocketeers! This is Dan Raspler, here to give you a demonstration of Space Cadets Away Missions, a game soon to be published by Stronghold Games that I designed with my friend Alan Rose. This is a cooperative outer space adventure game for up to 4 players that's currently on Kickstarter live right now, so if you like what you see here in the demo, head over there. And if we get enough pledges, it won't be for 4 players, it'll be for 6 players. Also, the components that you see here in the demo, while very nice, aren't the quality of the gorgeous plastic miniatures that you'll get when you head over there. You see what we got. So in this game, it's sort of a 1950s golden age sci-fi theme, and the adventurers are the human defenders of an alien secret attack where they've captured a whole bunch of humans and enslaved them as thralls. And this war is about rescuing the thralls and sending the aliens back into space. There's a bunch of different scenarios. The storyline in the scenarios describes the sort of history of the space war. And the scenario that we're going to be doing today is the Earth Orbital Platform mission. This is an early mission in the history, so that it's not about combat, although there is combat, but the emphasis is on more research. The storyline at this point is that while we've been fighting the aliens, we don't know too much about them. So the crew is assigned to get into this orbital platform and get biological samples of the 6 hostile aliens. The 7th hostile alien, the Thrall, is a human slave, so we don't need to get their biological material. The mechanics in the game, well, I should start with the sequence of play. The players go first. They scan a face-down tile and flip over all the stuff on there and prep the map. Then they take their 3 actions. Each of the players does that, and then all the aliens get a chance to go. If JR is the cameraman, if you want to have a look at the map, just so I can show folks what it's all about. So this is the orbital platform map. Each of the tokens face down on the map represents something that you'll see once the tile is scanned. And every turn, each of the Rocketeers has to scan a tile, scan the nearest tile.
How do the Rocketeers enter the map?
In this scenario, they're going to fly up by a shuttlecraft. So
Okay.
the players pilot a little shuttlecraft, they decide where it latches on. In other scenarios, there's different openings. Sometimes you might start in cells, sometimes you might start in an airlock. Different types of things. So in this one, the players decide wherever they want to land. So as they fly up, as the captain pilots them in, or the first officer pilots them in, I'll just give you a brief concept here. Every action is resolved with a roll of the dice. In Space Cadets Away missions, the dice are 10-sided, and the numbers that you're looking for a success are 1, 2, and 3. Anything besides a 1, 2, 3 is a miss. You only ever do 1 hit when you hit an enemy, even if you get multiple successes on the dice. Any hit after the first is called an overkill. And that's kind of one of the special things about this system. Each weapon that you use, each target that you fire at, and each character firing has a slightly different overkill option. So as you'll see, once we start rolling the dice, there's millions of options, millions of choices and decisions that you make every turn as they go along. Maybe not millions, maybe hundreds.
Maybe even dozens.
Dozens, maybe 3. So at the beginning of the scenario, in this scenario, all the Rocketeers start with 4 Rocketeer items. So I've already picked them out, and for new players, we have advice and guidance and stuff in the
But they can choose
scenario
normally?
booklet. Yep, you can choose normally. This scenario requires biological samples, so somebody has to bring the air knife, because that's how you get the biological samples. But you'll see how that unfolds. And I think that's about it. I think we're good to go. Okay, so now let's look real quick at the map. Each of the different tokens on the face-down tiles represents something different. The aliens tokens, when you flip them, tell you which of the aliens that are going to appear on that tile that are hostiles. The discovery token shows you which alien artifact or gear can be found there. And then if there's a tile marker on there, that's a scenario-specific tile that will impact what the players do. Most of the tiles are sort of generic that don't have any sort of direct specific special rules or anything like that. So, with that said, let's get started. The captain's going to begin the game by taking his the first step, which for him is scanning. So he's going to pick the nearest tile to scan, which in this case is this one, either this one or this one. He's going to choose this one. So he flips it over, and we see what's on there. So it's 3 leeches, a mentality helmet, and the thrall control tile. So we place the thrall control tile down.
What's the significance of the thrall control tile?
The thrall control tile is a scenario-based benefit to the thralls. The thralls are an alien combatant. As I say, the enslaved humans. This is what they look like. If the thrall control is active, instead of these being somewhat harmless thralls, they're actually deadly war thralls. So you got to deactivate the thrall control before you can really handle these guys with ease.
So they go from sad meatbags to dangerous sad meatbags?
Exactly. Precisely. So the tile's now set up, and the captain's going to take his first turn. So he has 3 actions. With his first action, he's going to open that hatch. If you notice the light blue hatch between his tile and the next tile, that blocks line of sight for the Rocketeers and for many of the aliens. Not all the aliens, though. So the captain's first action was to open the hatch. The captain's second action is to walk into this tile. He gets to pick up the mentality helmet, because it's right face up there. In this game, it doesn't take any actions or anything to pick stuff up or drop stuff or trade. So there's the mentality helmet. That's a defensive item that might help him out later. So that was 2 of the captain's 3 actions. The captain's now going to spend his third action and take a shot at the first space leech. He's got to get rid of these leeches. Even though this is a science mission, the leeches are deadly. Normally, his pistol, at point-blank range, would roll 5 dice. But because he has the holster, he rolls 6 dice. We always like giving the captain the holster because he's cool. So here we go, rolling 6 dice to shoot at the first space leech. Let's see, the captain gets 1 hit, the captain gets 2 hits. So, the first hit kills the leech he's shooting at, and the second hit is an overkill. The captain can use his overkill for his personal command action, where he can issue a command to the first officer. The second thing he can do with the overkill instead is use the pistol's overkill option, which is give him a free move. In that case, it's nothing he wants to do. The third overkill option in this case is to choose the leech's option, which in this case is called revulsion, and that lets him get a free shot on another leech, because he succeeded so well on the first shot that his disgust freaks him out a little bit.
It's motivational.
He's motivational. He gets a free shot on the next leech. So, because it's his second shot, he doesn't get the bonus from the holster, so he only gets 5 dice. So, let's see. Alright. It looked, well, that was...
Designer prerogative. That's a reroll.
That's a reroll. That was a mess. Alright, here we go. This is this. So, once again, he has 1 hit. He's got 2 hits. That's 2 successes. The first success is an overkill. He kills, the first success is a hit. He kills the leech. The second success is an overkill. Rather than targeting the next leech, he's going to give a command to the first officer. Okay, so we're going to continue with the first officer's turn. The first thing that she does, as always, is scan. She scans the nearest tile, which for her is this tile. She has no choice. This is a mandatory thing that you do every turn.
That tile just spun around. Does that matter?
No. So she flips over the tile, and she places the gear in it that she found, which is in this case a heat ray. That's a nice item. And then she also finds this event. In this case, cosmic radiation. Cosmic radiation means that all the Rocketeers in play immediately take a hit of damage. So the captain goes from 6 to 5 hit points. The first officer goes from 4 to 3. So she's kind of
she's feeling it.
She's feeling it a little bit. So now,
can I interrupt you for a moment?
Please.
Why didn't it? How did you know which way that tile went?
Oh, okay. The tiles always point in the direction of the starting tile's arrow.
Okay.
So all the arrows for the rest of the game are always going to be pointing
consistent
that way.
orientation.
So it's consistent orientation.
Okay, so she's scanned and now what?
Yep. So now we place the creatures, the aliens, that are indicated on the alien token. In this case, 2 saucer men and a bug. All aliens always appear in the tile where their token is, with the exception of the bug. The bug is the exception of the rule. The bug always shows up in the tile with a vent that's nearest to the scanning rocketeer. In this case, it's on the actual shuttlecraft.
Seems like a design flaw.
That's something
in
that
the shuttlecraft.
In the shuttlecraft, or not in the game, right? Yeah. Yes. Well, tell that to Ripley. Anyway, so the first officer now has 3 actions. Since this is a science mission and she wants to get biological samples of all the different aliens, this is an excellent opportunity to get a bug sample. So since she has a air knife, special high-tech knife, which allows her to collect alien blood, which is what you need for this scenario, she will roll 3 dice. She'll spend an action. She's going to roll 3 dice and try to get a 1, 2, or 3 on one of those dice. So let's see. She got a success, which is to say she kills the bug and she gets an alien blood.
Okay.
Now, alien blood is that. So now they have completed one of their 6 objectives. 6 objectives is blood for each of the different aliens in this scenario. So she already has 1 little alien blood. Now, just as before, she has an overkill. She got 2 successes when she only needed 1. What can she do with this overkill? Well, since she's fighting a bug, she can use the bug's overkill option. In this case, it's kill another bug. Since there's no other bugs, she's not going to take that option. The second option that she can possibly take is based on her weapon. Now, her weapon is an air knife. What the air knife can do is give her extra alien blood. That's not going to make a difference in this scenario. She doesn't need any more alien blood in this scenario. So
from that particular specimen.
From that particular specimen, right. She needs alien blood from other specimens. The third overkill option that she can take is her personal overkill option, which in this case is move out. And that means with every overkill that she got, she can move herself or another rocketeer 1 tile. In this case, she's going to move herself 1 tile to get out of the shuttlecraft for 2 reasons. 1, because the hatch is going to close in a moment, just like in Star Trek at the end of the turn. Well, they don't really have turns in Star Trek, but just like in Star Trek, eventually the elevator doors close. So this door is going to stay open until the end of the alien turn. So she has taken 1 action, she's killed the bug, and moved into here.
So how many actions does she have?
Now she has 2 more actions left. The first officer has 1 more action that she can use for anything, and then she has a non-combat action that she can't use for anything combat-oriented. So for her second action, she can choose to either shoot her rifle at, for her second action, she can do a lot of things. She can move into here, she can move back, there's all sorts of weird choices she could make. But the most practical one would be to either get rid of some of these hostile aliens or to stab this leech with the air knife in the hopes of getting another alien blood right away. And that's probably the best move. So she's going to do that. She's going to take her action point, and now she's going to use the air knife again to stab this leech. And here we go. She failed. Very sad. Now, because the captain, on his turn, gave her a command, she has a spare command waiting in her pocket. So she's going to spend that to try to take another stab at the leech. Let's see how that goes. Another failure. Very sad. What can you do? Now in this game, the first officer, or anyone at the end of their turn, at any point in their turn, can spend 1 O2 cube, or chip in this case, to take an extra free action. Once a turn, you can burn one of your precious O2 to take an emergency free action.
What happens if you run out of oxygen?
If you run out of oxygen, it's the same thing that happens if you run out of hit points, which is you die and the scenario is over for everyone.
Oh, so if no spaceman makes it
If one spaceman gets killed, the whole mission is a botch. Everyone loses. So nobody gets left behind. It's one of these. Everyone's got to work together. So she's going to spend 102 to take another stab at that leech and hope to get that objective accomplished. So looks good. Not only did she get a success, she got a second overkill. She got another overkill. So she killed the leech, which gives her her second objective. So now she has a leech and a bug. She's got 2 of the 6 objectives completed. Sounds pretty good. And now she has an extra overkill. What is she going to do with that overkill? Well, once again, she could use the knives overkill, not helpful option, the knives option. She could take the leech's overkill option, which I'll explain when we see more leeches. That's not going to be helpful in this situation either. Or she could, again, use her personal overkill option, which is move out. In this case, that's the best one. She's going to assign it to the captain. So the captain now can move out. When the captain assigns a command, he can, whoever receives the command can save it for later. The move out command is immediate. The move out overkill is immediate. So the captain will immediately move out, and you'll see why in a moment. She wants the captain to move in there. So the captain's going to move in there with her second overkill, where he picks up the heat ray. So the captain gets the little heat ray item for future reference, but it's still the first officer's turn. Now, she can't use any more O2. She has one more non-combat action. So, she could use it to heal. Everyone could always try to heal themselves. Or she could use it to open a hatch. Well, there's no hatches available that will be helpful for her right now. Or, on the thrall control here, it says one action to turn off the thrall control. So thrall control in this scenario, I'm not sure if I explained yet, is a tile that upgrades the lethality of the thralls. Did I explain that in this run through? Okay, so take 2. Anyway, so she's going to spend her non-combat action to flip the switch in thrall control, which turns all the war thralls into normal thralls. So here they go. She does that. So not terrible for a first turn, but that's the end of the Rocketeer's first turn, and now the aliens go. All right. So we just finished the Rocketeer turn. We're going to begin the alien turn. On this game, the aliens always go in the order of sentience, and we have 7 different alien types in the game. So in later points in the scenario, when there's multiple different types of aliens, they move in a very specific order. At this point, all we have is 2 of the same type of aliens, which is to say the saucermen. So they're going to go on their turn. The aliens all follow a simple AI, or artificial intelligence, and in this case, the AI is for them to move towards the nearest Rocketeer and attack. If they're already in position to attack a Rocketeer, they don't move. They'll always shoot at the guy nearest. If there are 2 equidistant, they'll shoot at the one that moved later in the turn. So given a choice, you want to have your characters with fewer hit points generally move earlier in the turn than the guys with the big piles of hit points. Right now the captain is 5, so he'll probably go, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but he'll go later in the turn when they go.
Now, as an aside,
yes,
the captain moved last, but on an action contributed by the first officer.
Right.
So who moved last?
The sequence of character movement is determined by the Rocketeers on their turn.
Right, but since the captain moved
The
last...
fact that he moved with a move-out command or moved from any other purpose is irrelevant.
So it's the last activated
The last
Rocketeer.
active, yeah,
Okay.
last active
All right,
Rocketeer.
so right now the first officer is the target.
Is the target if they were equidistant.
Got it.
But they're not, since the captain is closer.
Okay.
And that is why last turn, when she had that overkill option, she chose to move him in there. That was to protect herself.
Very thoughtful.
It was thoughtful of her because she wants the mission to succeed. Okay, so the saucermen now are going to take their turn. They fire one at a time. They roll 2 dice each. And again, they only hit on 1s, 2s, and 3s. Everything in the game rolls a d10. And everything in the game only hits on 1s, 2s, and 3s. So that you don't have to remember other kinds of dice. And you don't have to remember different to hit numbers. when we modify a die, when we modify a number in this game, all we're doing is increasing the number of dice you roll or reducing that number of dice you roll. You don't change the to hit number. That's kind of an important, simple factor. So this saucerman is going to shoot at the captain. He rolls 2 dice, and he gets 1 hit, so he nails the captain with a hit. Now this saucerman shoots at the captain. Let's see what he gets. Alright, so he misses. So the captain's taking a hit, and that's the end of the alien's turn. At the end of the alien turn, we close all the open hatches, and we reset all the spacemen's action tokens. The command token that the captain gave her last turn also goes back to the captain. It's now the beginning of the Rocketeer turn again, so we're beginning turn 2, and the captain and the first officer decide, first thing they do is they decide which one of them is going to go first. In this case, they decide that the first officer is going to go first and the captain is going to go second. So, the first officer begins her turn by scanning. So she flips over this tile, puts it in the right orientation, looks at what the tokens are. So, there's a Thrall oxygen tank, and there's 2 saucermen and a bug. So the 2 saucermen appear here, and the bug, as always, appears in the tile with the nearest vent. The vent tile, the nearest vent tile. Okay. This Thrall oxygen tank is a nice little item for the saucermen, for the Rocketeers if they can get there, because it increases their fund of oxygen, obviously. So now she begins her turn. The first thing she's going to want to do, the first thing the first officer does, is she's going to move into this tile. She picks up the Thrall oxygen tank, which gives her 3 O2 markers. So she now has an abundance of O2, so she'll be able to use it every turn for a while. Then she has 2 more actions. The first action, she's going to try to use her air knife to get a blood sample from the first saucerman in her tile. So here she goes. She's going to try to get the air knife into the saucerman for the objective. Fail. She rolls it again.
This is with a second action?
This is with her second. It was actually her third action. So the first action was to move in.
Okay.
The second action was to stab. This is the third action. And another fail. So Annie is not doing so well. So she's going to burn up one of her O2 to take a third attempt to get that
precious blood.
Precious blood, and another failure. Not good for the Rocketeers at this moment. Very depressing. But that's the end of her turn. Now the captain takes his turn. So the first thing he does is he scans. He flips over the nearest tile, puts it in the right orientation. This tile contains Mysterium, which is the exotic new Xeno element, and again 2 saucermen and a bug, which is a common assortment that you find on these tiles. So 2 saucermen appear in this tile. Right now there's a lot of saucermen. And another bug appears back here on the shuttlecraft. So there's plenty of targets. There's too many targets for comfort, but the captain has no choice. So he's going to take his first action. And he's going to shoot. Actually, you know what he does? He's not going to do that. The first thing he's going to... I'll tell you what the first thing he's going to do. In fact, the first thing he's going to do, he picked up, I forgot he picked up this lovely heat ray in the last tile. So he's going to use one of the charges on the heat ray. If you notice, there's a little green box in the corner. That shows you how many times you can use this item. So he's going to use one of the charges on the heat ray to melt the hatch that's open, that's closed, between his tile and the next tile. So now he has line of sight into this tile with these Rocketeers, with these saucermen, sorry. So now that that's open, and you'll see why he wants to have that open in a moment, he's going to roll his 6 dice. Normally you get 5, but he has the holster, so he gets the extra die. Here he goes. And design. Okay, so he got 1 hit.
Okay.
I was going to take designer prerogative, but he got 1 hit. Good enough. Now he's going to take another shot. So he only gets 5 dice. Let's see. For the purposes of, we want this realistic. Very good. Okay, so for his second action, he got 1 hit, which kills this Rocketeer. Saucer Man. And then he has 1 overkill. So, what can he spend the overkill on? And this is, this is sort of the most interesting, unusual, and difficult to remember parts of the game. We have all sorts of play aids that are coming with the game, though, to lay it all out for you very graphically. But suffice it to say, he has an overkill, and you could usually spend in combat, you could spend the overkill on one of 3 things. You could use it on your personal overkill option, which in this case is the captain could give the first officer a command, which would be useful. She could use it immediately to try to do that stab again, or she could use it to shoot something. She could use it however she likes, but she could use it immediately, even during the captain's turn. So that's one thing the captain can do with the overkill option. The second thing he can do with the overkill option, with his pistol, with his ray gun I should say, he has hit and run, which will allow him to hop into the next tile. That's one of the classic questions in the game is, should I move up right now or should I take another shot? If I get a free move, it's worth it. So that's the kind of push your luck thing that this game features. The third thing he can do with his overkill option is choose the Saucer Man's overkill option, which in this case is called Psychic Scream. The Saucer Men and the leaders, the little green men as we call them in the game, are psychically linked. So if you do an overkill on one of them, you could knock out one of the other ones anywhere on the map psychically for a turn. If the captain got really lucky and got 4 overkills on that roll, he could knock out 4 different guys. Alternately, he could knock out 1 guy and move 3 times, or he could knock out 2 guys and move twice. You could spend them one at a time as you wish every single roll. And it makes every single scenario very different than the one you played before, because these come and go, obviously. The dice can be cruel, or the dice can be generous, as all gamers know. So what is the captain going to do with his second overkill, with his first overkill on the second shot? He's going to use it to move in here. Why is he moving in here? He wants to draw fire. He wants to get more of them to shoot at him, not his partner. So he picks up the Mysterium. I'm going to pause and say, what is Mysterium? Mysterium is either one of the components used in other scenarios to craft obscure alien artifacts, alien items such as the teleporter or the stasis box or the Tantalus projector, but we don't have those in this scenario. In this scenario, all the Mysterium can be used for is recharging some of his items. Any item that you pick up from the aliens can be recharged with the Mysterium. So he has this on reserve. He can save this for later. He'll probably put it in his heat ray. But in the meantime, the captain has one more action. He's going to use it to shoot at the Saucermen in his tile. 5 more dice at the Saucermen in his tile.
5 or 6?
5, because the holster only gives you +1 die on the first shot.
Got it.
So here he goes. That's cocked, this die. So that's 1 hit. All right. So, that's 2 hits he has. So he kills this Saucerman, and then he gets 1 overkill. How's he going to spend the overkill? Well, he can spend it to give the first officer a command. Or he can spend it to knock out one of the Saucermen. Or he can spend it to move. And I think, in this case, he's going to give it to the first officer as a command. So now she can take it immediately, which she will choose to do. She's going to spend that action during the captain's turn to just run into here so they're all in the same tile together. Now, the captain's turn is still going on. She can no longer take any more commands, by the way. You can only get 1 a turn. But the captain still has O2. He's going to spend 1 of those O2 to take a final shot at one of the Saucermen in his tile. So here we go. It looks like that's 1 hit. That's a cocked die again. So whatever, we got 2 hits here. So he's going to kill this guy in his tile, and then with the overkill, since he can't give her a command, he's going to use the psychic scream effect to knock out this saucer man. And then that's the end of the captain's turn. That's the end of the saucer man's turn. And then we're going to move on to the alien turn. Go in the order of sentience, which in this case is the saucerman first. So, since one of the saucermen is stunned, there's only one standing saucerman. He is the only one who's going to fire. Both the captain and the first officer are equidistant, but since the captain went later in the turn, he's got the player 2 marker, he's going to shoot at the captain.
Will they not move? Or will they shoot if they have a target?
If he has a target, he doesn't move.
Does each alien species or have a unique movement AI?
The difference in the AIs of the aliens is largely based on whether they can move through the hatches. The saucermen and the leaders and the bugs can move through hatches. The other aliens cannot move through hatches, and then they got to find the long way around.
Okay.
Sometimes that means they're cut off. In this case, this guy's going to get a shot. So the first saucerman, the only saucerman, is going to fire. He's shooting at the captain. All right, let's say he got 2 hits instead of no hits. So just to show you for the demo here. So the saucerman got 2 hits, which is a hit and an overkill on the captain. So the captain takes a 3rd hit of damage, so he's hurting a little bit. And then there's an overkill. What does the saucerman do with this overkill? In this, the saucerman's overkill effect is mind control. So whoever he's shooting at gets mind controlled. In this game, mind control means you lose 1 action next turn. So if you look at the character sheets, there's a little mind control box over here, and the captain's going to take 1 of his action points and slide it into the mind control box.
But what about his helmet?
Oh, thank you. Of course. Thank you, First Officer. Because he has the mind control of the mentality helmet, he's going to burn one of the charges off the mentality helmet, and he doesn't get mind controlled. Look at that. Good move, picking up that helmet. But he still took the hit. So both of our crewmen are kind of shaky. So, but that's it for the 2 saucermen. This saucerman now comes to, his turn is over. All he does is wake up. And now the bugs go. Now, the bugs have a not completely different AI than the rest of the aliens, but it's unusual and sort of organic. And in this case, what these bugs will do is the first bug moves both bugs forward 1. So that's it for the first bug. Then the second bug goes, and he moves both bugs forward 1. And that's it for the 2 bugs.
So if you have a mass of bugs, they could go screaming through.
If you have 4 bugs, and they're 4 spaces away, they move right into your tile. If you notice, they ignored the hatches. That's because bugs, based on the scientific research that we've done, space bugs, based on our research, it seems could go under the little space under the hatch. It seems that's how they get in. Anyway, they ignore hatches too. So the bugs can sneak in. If you have 3 bugs in your tile at the beginning of the turn, each bug rolls a die. Each bug rolls a die independently. So when that's the case, where if each bug hits, you get 3 hits. So that's why the bug's in a way the deadliest of all the aliens. Because if there's 5 bugs in your tile, you can get 5 hits and they can kill you right away. Nothing else can do that. Even the Sentinel, the dreaded Sentinel, he rolls 6 dice, but he's unlikely to do more than just a single hit when he hits you. He has his own overkill effect called Terror, which we're not going to get into in this demo, but you can see that in the rules online at either the Board Game Geek page or the Kickstarter page. That stuff is all posted there. And I think that's going to be about it for this demo, but I think it should hopefully give you a sense of what the game is all about. Pushing your luck, choosing your overkill options, choosing which item you're going to use, choosing who your target's going to be. In a way, it's a shooter, like a console game shooter, high action, but stick to you keep your objective in mind. Make sure you bring the right gear. It's highly interactive. You have to work together at all times. Sometimes somebody gets creative and wanders off by themselves and tries to be a hero. It doesn't work. On the Rocket Patrol, you got to work together. It's a cooperative game for a reason. And I guess that's it for our demo tonight, Rocketeers. Thank you very much. Thank you, JR, for your able camera work. And everyone, this is JR's first attempt at outer space photography, so please forgive any focus issues or anything like that. And again, see you online. If you have any questions, you know where to find us on either of those websites. Thanks a lot.